Well, it seems like it's what everybody's talking about at the moment. We've been told that it will replace our jobs. We've been told that we won't need human beings anymore. And the healthcare profession, well, who knows where that will end up? I'm talking, of course, of AI. And in fact, specifically, we're going to talk about AI in healthcare because I heard that potentially in the future, AI could be the first point of call when it comes to an illness and an ailment. Well, joining me now is Matt, he is a healthcare scientist. Now, we found out an episode ago what that actually means, but how are you finding at the moment, Matt, that AI is actually having an influence on your industry?
Yes, I think we're definitely starting to see that happen. So I wouldn't say it's here in a massive way yet. It's starting to be used in a few key and kind of niche areas that we're starting to see. And a lot of hospitals are starting to talk about this definitely and start to think about how are we going to implement this and what systems are out there and what's going to help us and this kind of thing. So I think in terms of healthcare, I think we're definitely at the beginning of something here that's going to start to affect healthcare over I don't know how long it could take. It might take 5 or 10 years or even more than that before it's a massive part of our work. But I think it's definitely something that's on the horizon and is going to be starting to affect how we do healthcare over the coming years.
And I've heard people say that actually this is one of the biggest step forwards when it comes to tech since the invention and the commercialization of the internet, AI, where we're going to see it everywhere, aren't we? And some people, that makes them a little bit scared. But can you just tell us actually,
Yeah.
what is AI? What is the true definition of it?
Yeah, again, I think like a lot of things in this field, there's a lot of different terms and things out there. So it's an absolutely massive question that's got different subdivisions and things. So I'll try and sum it up as simply as I can. But I think in terms of what's relevant to what we're talking about these days, kind of in general terms, when we're talking about AI, we're talking about computer systems that have the ability to look at some data. This data could be just about anything. It could be scientific data we've put into a spreadsheet. It could be people's healthcare test results, anything like that. And it sees a pattern. It's got an algorithm that allows it to recognize a pattern. And then it learns, and it's all built to achieve some kind of goal. So it's trying to do something with this data by recognizing the patterns that are going on. And a lot of the time, it might compare this to some other data that we've given it. So in healthcare examples, a lot of the time, this is data where when we've seen this particular x-ray, this is what a doctor diagnosed, and it's trying to see what was going on there and compare it to that and try and make that kind of similar decision. A lot of it is about looking at data, recognizing patterns, and then trying to do something with that to try and achieve some kind of goal.
I guess the concern is, and it's one that's similar to driverless cars, if it goes wrong,
Mm.
who do you blame? Because as it is now, doctors are insured. You know, human beings can take blame. But if AI does the wrong job, whose fault is it? Who do we blame?
Yeah, really difficult question. I think probably at this point, I have to say that at the moment, I'm not sure there's a clear, obvious answer to that question. Even for myself, I must admit, I'm not an expert AI researcher. So I think because I'm a healthcare scientist, I take an interest in it. But I haven't had the opportunity to be that heavily involved in it yet. So I don't have a clear answer on that question, to be honest. But yeah, you're exactly right. When humans make decisions, particularly in healthcare, we are regulated. There's a process to go through when we make a wrong decision. As organisations, NHS hospitals are regulated. So when organisations make failures at a large scale, there's processes in place to try and deal with that. And I know they don't always work perfectly, but there is a process there. Um, And you're right. We're going to start to see, I think, AI potentially making decisions in healthcare. And as Christians, I think this should be important to us because a big part of our Christian life and what we believe in is a sense of justice. Um, that people should be accountable for what they do. And you're exactly right. At the moment, it's not quite clear what decisions, if an AI makes a decision that turns out to be wrong, who is accountable for that. I think we might start to see things develop in terms of the role of scientists, I hope, in this is going to be that we're going to be involved in helping to implement and test and make sure the AI is working as it should be. So I think there may be a process there that we can say that who is in charge of making sure that this was implemented correctly, that it was tested properly. There may be things to go through there, but you're right. Exactly. At the moment, it's a really big question, and it is a serious question that I hope as things develop, as we start to see AI being used, that we'll start to see answered. So yeah, I don't know if that's reassuring or worrying at this point. Does that help at all to
I
know?
think
Yeah.
it is
Um,
interesting because
yeah.
nobody knows yet, do we? It's like even the
Yeah.
experts, and you hear governments talking about this, that there needs to be some
Mhm.
sort of restrictions on it, and even the tech
Yeah.
experts are saying, do you know, this is going too much too quick. But
Yeah.
nobody seems to actually know where this will head, which I guess leads me on to my next question, which is about, as Christians, why should we care about it? Because are, are we, or will we face a time when AI is all knowing? And then do we actually need God?
Yes, I think this is a question that I've come up against a few times now. So I've done a few kind of science events in churches where people are asking about this, saying they come to me with questions, which is why I wanted to talk about it today, even though I've admitted I'm not an AI expert at the minute, but I think a lot of people who are involved in science are going to start to have these questions. And you're right. One of the questions people asked is, will AI ever become all-knowing? Will it become omniscient? Which is, as Christians, that's a characteristic we apply to God, God alone being omniscient and all-knowing. I think the other thing people tend to ask about is about values and how do we make sure that AI acts in good values. But I'll deal with the knowledge question first. So speaking from again my knowledge of the way it's going to be applied in healthcare science through the medical sector, um, I think the way it works a lot of the time at the minute is say we've got an AI system that we want to feed it people's chest x-rays. So we'll show it a chest x-ray from a patient and we want it to recognize if there is an abnormality or if it appears that this x-ray is normal. So we're not looking at um, anything where there's, say, tuberculosis or a lung tumor or a fractured rib. We want to try and teach it to prioritize those two things. So I think to start with, definitely, I think what it will be used for is to prioritize those things. That if it detects something abnormal that it thinks might be a health concern for that patient, that x-ray is going to go to the top of the list when a radiologist who's a doctor who interprets images is looking through these images. So it's going to say, there looks like there's something here. We think that this x-ray is a high priority for a radiologist to have a look at. If the AI thinks that this is probably normal, there's nothing to worry about here, it might prioritize them so the radiologists look at it later on. Um, but it needs to be trained to do that. So it's got to learn to recognize patterns. And at the minute, the way that's done is through training data, which is why the training data is so important. That is, the way the AI is set up is it's been shown thousands, or I don't know exactly how many, but let's say thousands of different chest x-rays. And it's been given alongside that the decision that a radiologist made. So a radiologist said, this is a normal x-ray. This is a healthy individual, as far as we can tell from an x-ray. And it's been given some where it's say this patient has got, say, a fractured rib or tuberculosis or whatever it is we're trying to diagnose from that x-ray. And it's learned to recognize the patterns in all those different things. And what it's trying to do is emulate that human decision. It's trying to copy the decision that the human made when it saw something that was similar to what it's looking at now. So I think this is why AI is becoming so popular for people to chat with online. It's becoming a very big thing. People want to chat with it. Because that's what it's set up to do, is to copy human decisions and to try and replicate those decisions. So we chat to it because it's starting to sound like we're chatting to a person, because it's learning more and more about, this is what people want to hear when they chat to, and this is what I should say when I'm chatting to someone. So I think that's why it's becoming so popular, because that's what it's trying to do. It's trying to learn what a human would do in this situation. And I think for me, at the moment, that places a really big limit on how much knowledge it could gain, because medical AIs are set up to perform very specific tasks. And importantly, using that training data, it can't learn to do anything that a human hasn't already learned to do. It's learning from us. So to my mind, this puts us a very, very long way off an AI learning anything that a human can't teach it. So I think we're a very, very long way from an AI ever becoming omniscient. Because I think by definition of the way it's created, it can only ever have access to human knowledge. So I hope I'm correct in saying that, in terms of, I'm sure there are AI experts who could put that much better than I do. But my interpretation, my understanding of the way AI is being used in medicine at the minute, and the way it's probably going to be used, is that it will learn from humans. So it will have access to human knowledge, quite possibly alone for quite some time.
So I guess we can breathe a sigh of relief and see it as maybe a clever assistant rather than God.
Exactly, yes. It's there to, at the minute, what it's being used for is to help make decisions or help prioritize decisions. So yeah, so I think at the minute it's a tool, it's an assistance. Yeah, I think we're a very, very long way away from it having knowledge that we can't directly give it. Or I think the other example would be that we're never going to have or we don't have a medical AI that's ever wanted to do something different from what it was set up to do. So it's not ever asked, oh, can I have a go at an abdominal x-ray? It's set up to do a very specific task, which, say, is chest x-rays or, other type of x-rays, but it's set up for a specific task. It's never going to ask to do something else at the minute.
I wouldn't like to be part of that office when it does start asking to do other tasks. Matt, thank you very much for your time, and take care.
Cool, thank you.